Hey everyone, in this video, which is very different from my normal video setups, I wanted to, as part of my kind of virtual mentoring series, talk about some key points related to giving a presentation, my kind of top tips. And the problem with most presentations really is if it's not a good presentation, if it's not well organized, I'm wasting the audience time, I'm wasting my time, and it really causes a long-term damage to any future interactions. First impressions count. I give a poor presentation, that's how they kind of think of me. So I'm not going to get my point across, the audience doesn't care, and I've damaged really a long-term relationship there. And this could apply if it's kind of a recorded presentation, if it's a live interaction. More and more of us now are doing these kind of online presentations, but most of these tips would apply live or not. Now, my goal for this presentation is really think about what are some of the key considerations to think about when I'm doing a presentation. I want to think about using the audio and the video in harmony. I want them to work together. I don't want to get this conflict between stuff I'm putting on the screen and what they're hearing. I want to make sure we plan out the presentation correctly. Now, my first point is think Shamwow. No matter what presentation you're giving, think Shamwow. What do I mean by that? Your audience likely does not care about your product, about your solution, about your new feature, about your update. They have no interest. The audience cares about how it will help them. They care about what you are going to do to assist with them. And so we have to first lay out the problem to make them interested in really what we're going to say. And so by thinking Shamwow, what that means is with Shamwow, you've probably seen the adverts, but if you haven't, Shamwow introduces a pain point, something we can relate to. A hideous spill. A spill that we don't know how we're ever going to recover from. I might drown because of this spill. I'm going to live for the rest of my life with this spill. There's no solution. So it's got this pain of a spill. And then once we've established the common pain, we all worry about death by drowning through a spill, it presents us with a solution. And so we have to introduce a pain point, something that the audience is going to care about. Now, it might be, hey, we're thinking about how we're going to solve remote worker solutions. It might be how I'm going to speed up my network access. It might be how we're going to increase sales, whatever that might be. But we need to start with why they care and how we're going to help them. That's the key point, get them to care. So when I think about the structure of a presentation, there's kind of this tell them what you're going to tell them. We tell them, and then we tell them what we've told them. You may cover many things. People will only retain a portion of it. So think about what is the key takeaway for your presentation. You'll talk about other stuff as well, but what's the key thing you really want people to remember and take away? And the point is, when we give a presentation, it's all about the value we're bringing to the audience. No one cares how smart you are. No one cares about how much you know. That is of zero interest. You need to focus on transferring, be it knowledge or a skill, whatever that might be, in a manner that can actually be consumed by the audience. The focus is on helping the audience. I remember, I think it was my third book, one of the editors wrote this comment and it's kind of stuck with me. Stop trying to show how much you know and focus on what's useful to the reader. That was, it seems obvious, but that really changed how I think about a lot of things. And that's critical. No one cares about what you can do or what you know. How can you help them? So think about that when I'm doing any kind of presentation. Focus on how can this be digested by the audience. Remember, people hate to be sold to. That could be selling knowledge or whatever, but people love to buy. When you buy a car, do you enjoy the salesperson badgering you? No, but you love to buy that new car. So we want to focus on just, hey, look, how can we help you? That's the focus of the presentation. Think about the audience. So we have that in mind. We think about, okay, our goal is to help the audience. We want to establish kind of what is this pain point or this common challenge we have, and then how can we help them? How can we solve that? Now, when I give the presentation, there's a few key things. I mean, from an audio and video perspective, have a decent microphone. Don't be driving in the car. If you've arranged a presentation time, you should make sure you can do a quality job of it. Have a camera and encourage your participants to have a camera on as well. It's so much more powerful to be able to see the people and have them see you. Yes, I can express certain things in my voice, but if they can see me as well, that really makes it so much more powerful. Now, if I'm having a live meeting and it's kind of the first time, if it is a new platform, I want to do a test. Now, oh no, embarrassing pop-up. New male Dr. Bob foot fungus. Okay, so my point here, if you're sharing your screen, make sure you've kind of turned off notifications. You're not going to get pop-ups while you're doing it. That can be pretty embarrassing and it's just unprofessional. So make sure you've kind of put on Do Not Disturb on anything you have going on your desktop. If it's a new platform, if maybe I've never used Zoom before or Teams before or WebEx before, start the meeting earlier so you can make sure there's no technical difficulties. Ideally, have a pre-meeting to go and test out that platform, make sure it's all going to be smooth sailing. Have a plan for the presentation. Have your goals, have tested it, make sure I know what I'm going to do. Have a good plan, be organized. If I'm giving live demos, hey, maybe I've upset the demo gods, it's just not my day. Have a recorded version I can use. Finish on time. Be respectful of other people, they have other things to go to. If it's my meeting and I'm organizing it, make sure you finish on time. Now, if you're in the middle of something, it's a great discussion, stop. Say, hey everyone, I know we're at time, we're making some really good progress here. Can people carry on? Or should we schedule a follow-up? Now, if everyone can carry on, then that's fine. If some people can't, say, okay, we want everyone involved. We don't want to lose half the people. Let's schedule a follow-up and we'll carry this on. So that's really important as part of it. I want a tidy desktop if I'm sharing my screen. Things like that. Just be organized. Be you. People don't expect perfection. I see these things about, well, you need to make sure you do this and that and the other. And yes, we want to be clear, but don't super worry about if you do say, oh, occasionally, if you make a mistake. We make mistakes. We're human beings. That's okay. No one's probably going to remember it if we do make a mistake. It's really not a big deal. Have your own style. Especially if I'm going to do lots of presentations, maybe recording them, it's actually good to have a certain style. Like I like to always do the whiteboards. That's kind of what I do. And I talk to the audience. I try and imagine they're there and I'm almost having a conversation with them. Because ultimately, no one wants to listen to a robot. Don't have this monotone voice where I'm just going to keep presenting and talking very, very softly and in a consistent manner. No one wants to listen to that. I want some variations in tempo, variations in volume. Keep them engaged. Because this robot here, no one wants to listen to that. You're going to get no retention. People can't maintain concentration. So imagine you're talking to the audience, not at them. And again, pauses are fine. Sometimes pauses are good. I'll pause. People are like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on? You get the attention back. And then you could maybe stress a key point. But seriously, do not worry. It's okay to have a little pause. People are not going to focus on mistakes. If someone makes a mistake on something you're watching, you probably don't notice it or you forget about it the next second. That's going to be exactly the same if you make a mistake. Do not worry. Now, we have video, we have audio. We want the senses to be strong together. What I don't want is this. I don't want the visual and the audio clashing and battling it out. I want them to work together. What I want is this. And I realize I can't draw an eyeball. I definitely cannot draw an ear. You try and draw an ear walking forwards. But the point is, I want them to work in unison. I don't want my senses battling. So what is a battling set of senses? Well, it's this. So what is an Ironman? Well, an Ironman is this single-day event that you complete in 17 hours. It consists of a number of different things. So I'm going to stop you there. The point of this is you have gone ahead and just started reading. Your senses, you've seen something, you're now reading all ahead. So you're ignoring what I was saying. And then when I start saying it, he's like, well, I've read this already. And you've switched off. I've made this conflict between what you're seeing and what you're hearing. You now don't care. If I put up a huge slide with a ton of stuff on and I say, well, you probably can't see this, or this stuff doesn't matter, then why are you putting it up on the screen? What benefit am I doing? What I would rather do is have it build out with me. Hey, an Ironman, it's this single day event and you get 17 hours to complete it. It consists of a number of different segments. So there's a 2.4 mile swim. There's a 112 mile bike ride. They're complementing, they're reinforcing each other. Now, I might make it more interesting. I could think about, well, it consists of, hey, there's a 2.4 mile swim. There's a 112 mile bike ride. There's a 26.2 mile run. I can vary it up. Ideally, we want to change the way we're seeing things. We want to change the way we're hearing things. But they should always, always, always complement each other. I don't want to get that friction. I don't want to put a ton of stuff up on the screen. I'm going to lose everyone. So think about them really working together. The viewer makes a decision in a second. I'm saying something, I'm putting something up on the screen. Their brain, do I care? I really think it's about a second you get. I put a ton of stuff up on the screen. The brain says, I don't care. I've now lost that person for the entire duration of that PowerPoint slide. I may have trouble getting them back. Whereas if I'm constantly changing what they're seeing, I constantly get the brain to redecide, do I care? By varying my voice, I can get the brain interested again. By having different styles, well, that's different. It's jarring. I'll get their attention again. That's why the animation of the PowerPoint helps. It constantly makes the brain rethink, hey, look, do I care about this? I never want something on screen really for more than kind of 30 seconds, 60 seconds at max. I want some change, but again, make sure it works with what I'm saying. I want the senses working together. Now, I love whiteboarding. I often use the Microsoft Whiteboard application. It's free. It's available for Windows and iOS, but you could use really anything. I could use it on an iPad with a pencil. I can use it on Windows with a pen. I can be very flexible. I can adjust based on a conversation if it's live. It builds out as we talk. Practice using it. It's a lot of fun. There's many different ways I can do it. So let's kind of look at a little example. Now, here I'm running the whiteboard app natively on my machine, but I could actually be drawing on a remote machine. If I'm signed in as the same account, I can use the same whiteboard. So here I'm actually using my iPad with the pencil to draw, but because I'm looking at the same whiteboard, anything I draw on here will show up on this one as well. Another approach could be, I could use something like AirWatch. If again I was using an iPad to project to my PC, I could share from an iPad directly. I could use a device with a pencil actually on the PC. It doesn't matter. I don't have to use whiteboard. I just like it as an app. And then what I can do when I kind of have the whiteboard is I can do discovery. What are your business requirements? What are your technical requirements? And I would kind of write these down. Oh, I need kind of access to internet. Pain points. Maybe I'd use a different color. Oh, it's slow today. Technical requirements, want to speed them up. I can then use it to understand what's the current process. Well, hey, look, we have this user and he sends an email to another team who goes and sends him an IP address, and then he goes and talks to someone else and they go and take a screenshot of the IP address for him, and then they kind of email or they fax it back. So that's super inefficient. It's really taking a long time. But what instead we really want to try and get to, our goal is, well, we want to move to this new process. We can kind of move this away and say, okay, well, we have the machine. And the process is going to be, well, we have a DNS server, and this machine will make a request for, hey, a certain name. It would get a response back. Hey, it's this IP address. There are then gateway servers that kind of bridge the gap out to the internet, because fundamentally I want to get to this server that's this IP address that hosts my content. So then, hey, my flow of traffic would be, well, I'm going to go to the gateway. It will translate my IP address into something usable on the internet. Then it will bounce around the internet and eventually go and talk to that IP address. I'll get my response back, where once again it will kind of bounce around the internet and get to my machine, where it will ultimately display that content that I cared about, whatever that might be. And now me as the user, hey, I'm super happy. I've got my content. So I can think about building it out as I talk through the process, but I can use it to capture the initial requirements. I can note the pain points. I can look at the current process. I can talk about what the options might be, no matter what this is. But it's very interactive. I can change based on what my audience, maybe if it's a live meeting, actually cares about. So I love using the whiteboard interactively. But I could also use an existing one if I'm really not comfortable kind of drawing on demand. So here I could just take that finished whiteboard and I could just kind of paste that into PowerPoint. Now I could just show that, but again, now we've got this kind of static thing. So what you can do really, really easily is, well, I could just hide things. I can think about creating, for example, white boxes over certain parts of the picture. And we'll kind of change that to white with no outline. And I can add animations to essentially remove the object. So I can kind of make it fade out. And then repeat that for all the other parts. So it essentially now becomes an animated slide. So now I've finished putting all my little white boxes on here. And of course it's all blank because everything's covered in a white box. But now I could actually walk through this and I could say, well, look, I have a machine. It wants to get to a certain target. So there's a DNS server that's local. Hey, I go and query that for the name. I get back an IP address. There's a gateway, which is my connection out to the internet where that target resource actually is. So that packet goes to the gateway, which does any address translation. It goes out to the internet. It gets to that IP. I get my response back, bounces around the internet, comes to my gateway, maps it back to the original IP. I get the data, it shows it on screen, and I'm happy. So I took the same whiteboard, I just covered it in a whole bunch of white shapes and then removed them as part of an animation. So it makes it easy to kind of take what is a static whiteboard I've pre-created and make it far more interactive and useful. And it really didn't take very long. Always try and build things out. I don't want to put some huge, complicated technical picture on the screen or a ton of different components. Again, take a little bit of time. It doesn't take long to animate things. Hey, here's a more professional if I didn't want to use a whiteboard. Hey, I have a machine. I'm going to talk to my DNS. I query it for a record. I get the response. I go to a gateway. It wants to get to that target machine. Hey, it's going via the internet, etc., etc. Just build those things out. It really is key. And really, that's the point of all of this. I mean, that's what I just really wanted to try and convey. Remember to focus on what matters to the viewer. They do not care about your shiny product. They do not care about the new version. Help them see what pain point, what value you can bring to help them. That is the focus. I think Shamwow. I think, how do I relate and get them to care? Be clear and engaging. I want to get the audio and the visual working together to complement, to get a good message going across. If I can, I always want a video on to really help with that bond that we're creating with the viewer. Be yourself. Don't want to be a robot. Don't want to try and be someone else. Be an organized version of yourself. Be tidy. Be professional. Make sure you've brushed your... You might have hair. But you get the idea. Relax, practice, and I hope this was useful. Take care.